I love the names on this team. They have Sixto Sanchez, and they have my favorite name probably in baseball right now, Jazz Chisholm.
Showing emotion in baseball is terrible and should never be in the game.
It's weird how the dynamic works between sports.
But to win a championship, not only do you need great players on the court, but you need good chemistry, which takes time to develop.
Justin Fields is a all-time talent.
Corey Perry will give some veteran presence to the Canadians.
I feel like Luka will take that next step, and if he can get a three ball consistently around 35%, I feel like they could become a contender.
We can make jokes about you not being in Super Bowl for 20-something years, but...
What's up, everyone? This is Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild and Lift the Mask, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Austin and Kevin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. What a trade deadline. Austin, you and I were talking about this a week or two ago, and we're like, it's not going to really be active. But the man that I already said his name, Austin.
Yeah, this trade deadline was extremely active. Teams are going all in or all out on this season, and there was a lot of the heavy hitters making big moves.
Yes, and a team that's known for big moves. I think that's the thing that stuck out to me. We'll get to the other, but a lot of the Western Conference teams, you have the Vegas Golden Knights. You know, they got some cap room with Mark Stone. Looks like he'll be out for the regular season. They're not sure about the postseason. I think when postseason comes around, he'll probably be there game one. But then we have they got from the Sharks in a deadline deal. They got forward. Why am I taking forever?
Thomas Hertl.
They also made a trade earlier to get a defenseman. Thomas Hertl's the forward.
They got Noah Hannafin and Anthony Mantha.
Yes. So that's a huge move for an already pretty good defensive core that they had last year when they won the Cup.
Yeah, and I think they realized that they're going to need more than what they had at the lineup in the moment. They were not necessarily as good as they wanted to be this year. They're still really good, but they are not top of their division. Right now, they would be the last team in to a playoff spot. Yeah, they would be the 8th seed at this point. The Predators and Kings have both passed since the last time we talked, Kevin. So as the 8th seed, they'd be facing the Vancouver Canucks in the first round, and that is not necessarily who you want to play. So they're making moves to help themselves rise in the standings.
Yeah, and they may be a team that wants to get that number 1 seed. They were the number 1 seed in the West last year, and that was very fruitful for them. So they want to climb the standings. And a team that we talked about, a lot of the teams we talked about in our deadline video this week did moves. The Avalanche bought. They traded for Sean Walker. They also traded for a forward. And then they got another one they just did a deadline deal today. I'm pulling up this list. Oh, they acquired they sent Ben Meyer to the Ducks. But they were a team that had 3 or 4 moves. And we talked about them in our last deadline video.
Yeah, as a team that needed to make moves because the rest of the top of their division was making moves, both the Stars and the Jets. And we'll talk here in a minute about the Jets, another move they made. But with the Avalanche, they bolster their scoring depth. They were already a good scoring team. They are obviously the most goals for in hockey this year, which is why I did not think that they were going to address a forward and that depth. But they obviously decided that they wanted to increase it, which is never a problem. If you want to just get better in a certain area, you definitely can. But I think those defensive additions are much more important because that was the reason why they weren't higher in the standings.
Yes, they got Casey Mittelstadt,
from Buffalo.
Yeah, and then Brandon Duhaime from the Wild, who was a team that sold. Because they also, Matt Dumba, former Minnesota Wild, was traded to the Lightning.
Yeah, but he was not traded from.
Yeah,
the
he
Wild.
wasn't. Yeah, no, I did a couple jumps from Wild, and that was like, oh, Matt Dumba got traded. The Lightning made some moves too. They weren't minor. The other Florida team made a majority of the moves, with Tarasenko going to the Panthers. The Panthers also,
Kyle Ekpozo.
yes, which, man, Panthers look like they're gearing up. They're already number one in their division. Or I think even in the East. Yeah, they're number one in the East right now.
It's really
Their team-
close. They are
yeah.
1 point above Boston at the moment. Boston has 89 points. Florida has
Yeah.
90.
Wow. So there's a team. The Bruins did make some moves, but they didn't make. I think Tarasenko's huge for the Panthers. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, but it's going to take him time to get acquainted. Last year, if you remember, Tarasenko was on the Rangers after a trade midseason, deadline deal, or a close to deadline deal, and that he played okay this year. He's playing well again. He's playing better than he did last year, but can he actually play well in a new system? Because that's what he struggled with last year. He only had 21 points in 31 games with the Rangers to end the season. That's much worse than he was at the beginning of the year. So if he can continue to be a good player, or his standard of player during the move, then yeah, I could see this being very fruitful. But I do think that trading him away was definitely the best move for Ottawa.
Yes, and they were a team that you had selling, and yeah, it seems like they signed him late this offseason, and then yeah, they flip him for some picks. So Panthers, I think, got better with Tarasenko and their moves. However, I think the biggest move that we talked about was the Hurricanes, which was surprising. We talked about their lack of scoring last year and how they are such a great defensive team. It's just sometimes they lose track of scoring, but adding Jake Gunsell from the Penguins, which I know there are rumors, but I'm surprised they pulled the trigger for if you're the Penguins, but I understand with the Hurricanes because now you add a really good goal scorer to your team.
Yeah, the only thing about Gensel is that he's still hurt. So we'll have to see how he comes back. Now in 50 games, he has 52 points. He's been amazing this year. However, I don't know how he's going to come back from injury, when he's going to come back from injury, because they said it could be 4 to 6 weeks, and he still doesn't come back. And that was February 14th is when that got reported. So we could see. It just needs to be shown how he performs after injury, because injuries can vary performance.
Yeah, and then they added, who's the other winger that you brought up for the Hurricanes?
Oh, let me find it. They added.
Oh, Kuznetsov.
Oh,
From-
Kuznetsov.
Okay.
Yeah, Evgeny Kuznetsov.
And he came from the Capitals, and he's been a really good player for them. So it seems like they acknowledged their weakness, and I think that really helps them in the playoffs because we could see – because they had to play the Panthers, I believe. Yeah, they got swept by the Panthers in the Eastern Conference.
Finals, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only problem with Evgeny Kuznetsov is that he was on the player assistance program and had been sent down to the AHL, and the Capitals waived him, but now the Capitals have traded him away after he was in the AHL for a little bit. So we'll have to see how he comes back from being in the player assistance program, because he had some issues. So both of the guys they picked up, one guy was hurt, one of the guys had some other issues. So it's not necessarily like they're picking up the most well-established players, whether it's because of injury or otherwise, but they're definitely making moves that could improve them if it all works out.
And then another team we've done a video on is the Winnipeg Jets. I thought they were done, but adding Tyler Toffoli from the Devils seems to help them with their offensive issues. I think the Hurricanes are a little bit comparable to the Winnipeg Jets, because to me, they're two great defensive teams. However, the Hurricanes have gone farther in the playoffs. compared to the Jets in past few years. But I think when you add in the trade from a month ago even, and then Tyler Toffoli to the Jets, you really got to believe, as everyone in the Western Conference really was stacking up. So that's a good response from the Jets.
Yeah, the last time the Jets made the conference finals was in 2018. They lost to Vegas. So it's not like it was a crazy long time ago that they were there, but it has been a little bit. And then, again, adding a player like this, their offense is getting better. They're improving in goals scored, but they still have the least amount of goals against by a sizable margin, almost 20 goals less than any other team in the West. The only team that's close is a team in the East, which is Florida. So they've been very good this year. They're second in the West at the moment. They're the top of their division by points percentage. And adding to Foley, a guy who's made it to the Stanley Cup final and won it with the Kings, and then obviously lost it with the Canadians. He has a lot of veteran experience, and he could be very beneficial as a forward for that team.
And two teams that had great goaltenders in those Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah.
And then a team that, so they fired their coach, they fired Lindy Ruff. Devils really became big sellers after they sort of burst onto the scene last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were a young team, though. They still are. So I think they're going to try to just retool. This is not necessarily a full sell job. They're just going to try to get a new coach next year and just keep their young guys progressing.
And they did. I know they've been dealing with a goalie issue. So they got Kaipo Kakkonen from the Sharks, and then they sent Vitek Vanacek to the Sharks.
Yeah. Again, that's not too big a no because neither of those teams are going to make the playoffs. But, yeah, it'll be big in the future potentially.
Yeah, and then I think any other trades that stood out to you?
I like the move to getting Pat Maroon for the Bruins just because he's another guy bottom six, really bottom three that forward that will be that has a lot of playoff experience. Obviously, he's 41 cups, and he was with the Wild, who are obviously needing to sell. And I fully expect that he will be a guy who plays just 8 to 10 minutes during a playoff game, maybe 6 to 10 minutes. Maybe 6 to 8 minutes, not that much time, but when he's out there, he's going to be physical and he's going to set the tone. So that's all they tried to get him for, and I like it because we need another one of those guys.
Yeah, and then the next thing I'll add, or a team that didn't do anything, they did trade for Tanev, was the Dallas Stars. They're a big team. And I think given what the other Western Conference teams did, like the Avalanche, like the Jets, like Vegas, Vegas was a surprising move for me because I thought they'd kind of be like, yeah, we're fine. We'll trust everything. But no, they really went out and spent a lot. So the Stars, I think, do have a better team. I just don't know how it compares against these other teams that made more moves compared to the Stars.
Yeah, but I mean, all those teams know where they're sitting, and I think that while some moves are better than others, and some teams made more moves. I think all three of those teams at the top of the division, Stars, Avalanche, and Jets, all made enough moves for them to stay in the hunt.
Yes, that's a great point. And you will see how Vegas compares if they can get back into the hunt. But yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the Stars could have done, but I think bringing in Tanev and then getting the addition of Stankoven in quotation marks.
Yeah, because you didn't really add him. He just gets moved up. But I think getting Tanev is what's really huge. And I think getting everyone healthy, getting Ottinger back to being Otter is huge. And I think they made enough moves. I think the Tanev move was absolutely necessary. And after that, it was just icing. I know you said that you and I both agreed that they could make another move, and we weren't going to be mad if they did. They definitely had room to make another move. But it's not season ending by not making another move. They have the pieces, and I definitely feel like they are confident with the team they have.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. I just brought up the Stars because it seems like the Jets and the Stars have the most riding on this season. You can also put in the Avalanche too, and we've talked about them a ton. But this is a big season for those three teams. One most likely is going to be knocked out in the first round.
Will.
Will.
Almost certainly, because unless one falls to the 4, which would be crazy, which I mean, I would require the Predators to move up. but that's probably true that one of those teams will be knocked out. And after all these moves, I mean, that's the beauty of the playoffs. But we'll see which of the moves were best come playoff time.
Yeah, and we'll keep you updated on that. Let us know what you thought. Was there a move that stood out to you? Also, make sure you're checking out the Instagram, the Twitter for all the updates. I guess X, but still Twitter. For all the updates as we're doing March Madness and a lot of college basketball stuff coming out, and we're putting out as much content as we can. It's probably the most in the history of our show. So make sure you're checking that out. And of course, don't forget the bracket group, but also be on the lookout for other videos. And we appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.